at EVS, we're seeing a lot of battery projects come our way, and I think the whole goal is try to squeeze out as much from existing PV as well. So a lot of these are being co-located with existing PV projects, and so yeah, BESS is picking up right now, and all eyes are on BESS pretty much.
Greetings and welcome to yet another Sounds of Solar podcast. I'm Christoph Brun. Joining me today, who other than
Walalin Kebede.
Prahlad Shivshankar here.
Well, guys, we have a bit of controversy to settle. First and foremost,
it's a big one.
Yes, it's about English Premier League football. I know most of the fans out there are also diehard football fans. Walalin, what the heck happened? You got mistaken as an Arsenal fan. I don't watch Premier League, but you gotta inform us about the situation.
This is a federal crime.
And the listeners.
Federal crime?
It's a federal crime. They mistaken me for Arsenal fan.
So explain to the lay people out there how bad of a crime? This is federal level crime.
Yes, it's a federal level crime because I'm a United fan, and as a United fan, my goal is always to see Arsenal fail.
Yes.
So now, categorizing me as an Arsenal fan, we need to do something about that.
Your phone must have blown up as soon as...
You know, the thing is, I got texts from people that I haven't talked to them in a long time because I posted it in the social. Yeah. It's like, oh, our producer confused me for Arsenal fan. And everybody reached out. It's like, oh, you came out of the closet. I was like, what? They're like, oh, get the jersey. Yeah. Like, we all knew all along. I was like, no. Then I reach out to Arsenal fans and it's like, hey, here, can I join in? They say, no, we don't want you. So I'm glad they...
So you're left without a home right now.
Yeah, well,
you're changing your sport now.
Where I was supposed to be.
Do you have to support Liverpool now or something?
No. I'm sticking to... No, Manchester United. That's all.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the record is settled now. So, Walalin, we appreciate you clearing this up.
Thank you.
We were all wondering, and I'm sure Jordan is
taking notes,
losing sleep over this controversy, but the record has been set straight. Now, Prati, on another sporting topic, I know it's a little time-stampy, but I think India just won the Asia Cricket Cup.
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
There was a lot of controversy there too.
Oh, controversy. Here we go.
But India did win the Asia Cup, and they were the unbeaten team in the Asia Cup as well. So it happened on Sunday, and I watched the entire game.
Yep. How long is this game? Because this isn't a test, right?
This is a much shorter format. Yeah. 2020, it's 20 overs. So think of it as 20 innings, but it's not as long as one inning. So... But the entire game was like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's the similar format to what the cricket that I play here.
Yeah.
So it's just 20 overs, and so it gets over in 3 to 4 hours. And the
big mild 3 to 4 hours.
Mild 3 to 4 hours. But the big controversy was India didn't actually lift the trophy. And I don't want to talk too much about it, but...
Probably, this is... you have the mic right now. You
can
say whatever you want.
It gets very
political. You've been humble. You're going to get hate mail now. Prati's or Wallalin's got hate mail about Arsenal. You're going to get hate mail about this comment.
No, this is like full geopolitical.
Oh, boy.
And it gets all crazy. But it was India-Pakistan, and they're like big rivals. So
of course.
And they didn't want to pick up the trophy from their arch. Like the guys presenting were from Pakistan, and they didn't want to pick it up from them. And it was beef. So let's just say it was controversy.
So what's the duration for the cricket? Is it like the World Cup after 4 years, or I'm not?
It's a good question. For Asia Cup, I actually don't know. I don't know. I don't follow Asia Cup. It's not something I follow that ardently. But
wait, but is there a timetable? Like, next year is Asia Cup tournament.
No, it's I think it's about every 3 years or something like that.
Okay,
so it's not that.
Who
often.
won the last Asia Cup?
Good question. You guys are putting...
I thought you were a cricket fan.
He wasn't here. So that's the controversy, I guess.
Oh, I see.
Hey, I'm questioning a lot of stuff right now because he won. He said last 2 weeks, but no, last time we were here.
Yeah.
You won something.
He did a 50.
I did a 50,
yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Did anyone in this game do a 50?
No. Oh no, they did. Yeah,
Oh,
they did. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They scored 67 or 70 or something like that. But yeah,
that sounds big.
that's pretty big in a 2020 game. Yeah.
Okay, well, since we solved these sporting questions, I have one thing. I mean, I know I'm the only person that follows MotoGP here, but Marc Marquez won the World Championship after the first time in 5 seasons, and he basically came. It's got to be the greatest sporting comeback in history. Anyone should look this up. Basically, won the championship in 2019, had a horrendous crash, broke his right humerus, and had tons of issues ever since, both with his physical health and the motorcycles he was riding. He came back, dominated the championship with Ducati this year. It was unbelievable. So that happened. Motegi, Japan. Anyway, a lot of time stamping here, but you know what? That's fine. We're just vibing.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we have some other things to discuss here today. We're going to talk about battery storage, how EVS plays into it, with the engineering services we offer, but kind of backstory about you guys growing up, dealing with grid shortages or power shortages, blackouts, etc., load sharing, things that I didn't experience growing up in Park Rapids, Minnesota. Can you guys tell us a little bit about that? Where do you want to start? Wallen, you want to
I can
kick
go
it
ahead.
off?
Yeah.
What's your origin story here in relationship to these things?
To the load shading?
Yeah.
I grew up in Kenya. And I mean, for a general audience, for those who don't know what a load shading is where the utility companies like schedule some blackouts just because of the high demand of electricity and they cannot provide that much, right? So I grew up in Kenya and we had all these weekly load shedding, right? And for the area that I grew up in, it was mostly on Mondays or Tuesdays. So it will fluctuate. It wasn't as constant as it.
Like you didn't have a schedule.
Right. You didn't have a schedule, right? So, and as a kid, like I used to be very involved in like watching my favorite show, which is wrestling.
Yes.
Like I said last time, right? So
Do you want to go on the wrestling segue now or later?
Maybe later.
We'll get there a little bit
later.
later.
We'll get there later, right? So, and with that, like you'll have these blackouts every now and then, right? Every week. So, and that used to really piss me off as a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you want to watch,
I want to watch
favorite
my
wrestler?
At that time was, I had few, like, what was Shawn Michael. You remember Shawn Michael?
No, did he have like some sort of a mask or an alias or something?
No. And also, The Rock was.
This is early Rock days, right?
Right. Yeah.
Before he became a.
And when he does the eyebrows.
Oh yeah.
And
can you do that for the camera?
I don't think I can do it. I can. I live to that. Yeah. And
I can't do it either.
Yeah.
What exactly is the blackout load sharing? Like what actually happens?
Right. So with the blackout or load shedding is that, like I said, so there's a high demand of electricity, but the utility cannot or the grid cannot provide that demand. What they do is that they will schedule some blackouts in different region, right, in order to reduce that demand. Because if the demand goes high and the supply is not there, then it can cause some grid failure and stuff like that. So they will do that strategically to avoid that, right?
Yep.
So as a kid, that was not anything fun for me. Yeah.
So and it's not on a schedule. That seems hard to believe to me that you wouldn't be able to plan around it, but maybe that's intentional.
No, it was on a schedule, so it was like either Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like around 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. sometimes. Sometimes it's less. Right. Time or duration. It could be only 1 hour. Sometimes it can be 2 hours. Depends. Right. So you can track it, but sometimes it's like it's not established to the point like, oh, it's gonna happen at this time, and you should be expecting it this time. So because you'll have Monday on. And then you have Tuesday off.
Was it like over time, did it get worse? Did it get better? Was it kind of constant?
I think people started becoming more like coming up with ideas. It did get better. And even now, when I went back, it was much better than what it was before. In the beginning, it was worse. It was just too much of a blackout, right? And it started affecting businesses and started affecting other areas of life, right? Like, you have to go to bed as a kid. You have to go to bed right away because when the light goes off, everybody needs to sleep.
You can't watch wrestling.
You can't watch wrestling. You can't do anything, right? So
how did you strategize around that? Like you mentioned, you don't necessarily know when it's going to happen, but if you need to do something, it's like for us, like if your Wi-Fi goes out, right?
right,
It's like detrimental
yeah.
in today's world. But like when you're a kid growing up in Kenya, like what did you do? I mean, you just to basically plan around it as best you can.
Well, as a kid, you don't plan around it, but I would say like our parents and business owners, they have to plan around it, right? For
Yeah.
us, as a kid, like I said, you just go to sleep and you hope
Go to sleep.
you go to sleep, which in hindsight is actually healthy because we had to go to sleep early, get enough sleep compared to now when you have the Wi-Fi and the lights and all that, you don't go to sleep.
So you're advocating for blackouts.
I don't advocate for blackout. I advocate
for personal health.
For discipline.
Yes. Yeah. You seem very disciplined to
Yeah.
me, so I appreciate that. Prahalad, moving on to you, what do you recount from your growing up experiencing similar things?
Yeah, similar experiences. I think some were scheduled, some weren't. And it was mainly with, I think, from what I could remember at least, I don't know if it's because they didn't have data or what it was, but like they knew that like Walden was saying, there was going to be peak demand during, let's say, the afternoons, and maybe they couldn't fulfill it. And so a lot of times the load shedding would happen because of that. In terms of actual impact, like I do remember like my parents, because the electrical sumps and water pumps and stuff had to be, like once you're out, you can't like pump the water to different levels, depending on if you're at a different floor, third floor, fourth floor, or if you're staying in an apartment versus a home. So that was the biggest impact. You'd kind of fill up water early in the morning and make sure you have enough supply during the blackout phases. So those were sort of like the first things that come to mind.
So take your shower.
Yeah, make sure you
early.
you have an early shower in the morning before everything just stops. So
charge your phone.
Yeah, charge your phone, do all of that kind of good stuff. So that was the biggest. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that came to mind when I was thinking about load shedding and impacts and stuff. So, but outside of that, like I think this was what I think the earliest I could remember was 2000s, 2004, 2005 when all of this happened.
Right.
So it to us as kids, at least, I don't know, Wallen, if you agree, but like it didn't feel like this felt like normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
what's your baseline?
Yeah, and you'll be like, oh, there's going to be a power cut from like, I don't know, from 3 in the afternoon to 5, and we'll be like, okay, so we'll just go outside and play, and that was it. So nothing that you can like as a kid, you probably can't do much. Yeah. So, but yeah, I grew up in India, in Chennai, in a state called Tamil Nadu. It's the southern coast of India, so just by the southern coast. And yeah, my grandparents lived just near the beaches, and so I love beaches, and I'm a beach guy. I love going. So that's how. Yeah. So that's where I grew up, but yeah, a lot of times when there were power cuts, they'd send us to our grandparents' house where we'd go and just chill with them, or we'd go for a walk and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it was back in the day. So
nice.
It's way better now though. Like I don't think I've seen that many power cuts and stuff happening right now, but I think there was a big blackout in 2012 that India generally remembers, and that blackout was through the country. Like it was power cuts going first. It hit the north, south. The entire region was out of power for a while.
Wow.
So
yeah, and I agree with you. And I know we'll get into those like solutions and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, right now, even when I go back to Kenya, I was there recently, even June I was there, and it's so much different right now. Like it's not as obvious as it used to be, right?
So we talked a little bit about where things were. You guys kind of alluded to where things are going, where things are now. You recently were in Kenya, et cetera.
Right.
But Prati, can you elaborate? I know you got the note sheet.
Yep, I've got
He's
the
got
notes.
It's
Very
factual.
It's an Ernst & Young report from Feb 2025, so it's pretty recent. So
that's good.
But yeah, it goes into a lot of details about where we were and where India was and where India is today. And so just kind of, and I think it generally applies to developing countries, and I'm sure it applies to Wallen as well, and in Kenya as well, in terms of just the energy demand and stuff. So I figured, kind of touch on some stats and it gives everybody a framework of what developing countries are looking at versus maybe like a developed country like US and Britain and stuff. So the big thing the big takeaway that I took when I was looking through the reports was India is close to about 40% renewables penetration.
Wow.
That seems relatively close to what the US is as well.
Yeah, that's about, I think.
And it's pretty cool to see like like US with it's a developed country going through like the grids established well like way earlier than India, but still like in terms of renewable penetration, the country is still in par with the US as well. So like I think every country, developing and developed countries, the goal that I'm looking at for all of the countries is to have an energy mix. Not just solely depend. Not just solely depend on fossil fuels, but make sure that the energy mix is fossil fuels. You have your natural gas. You also have renewables. And under renewables, it's a big bucket. But you'd have solar, wind, you'd have hydro, biofuels, and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the big vision I think for India is 500 gigawatts of renewables by 2030. And I think they're very close. They're around 420 or 430 or approximately around that range now. So they're very close to hitting that target, and with a net zero by 2070. So that's pretty big targets and pretty big goals, and those are in alignment with the Paris agreements. I think they did come up with these agreements and these net zero targets during that accord. And so yeah, it was wild when I saw some of the numbers thrown out there. By 2070 they want to hit like 2,000 gigawatts and stuff, like quadruple it. And so
you say this one is in renewable only?
This is in renewables only. Like they're just trying to and the net zero effectively means they're able to power, and they're able to take care of the load completely through renewables. And so that's where they're trying to go with these targets. But the immediate one is the 500 gigawatt, which is pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
When I saw those numbers, I was like, that's a lot. And then I was like, okay, so what's the US at? That's the immediate question. And I was looking at some numbers here. Like I think in 2024, the capacity in the US is 1250 gigawatt. Which is staggering, right? Like, and in India is trying to do 500, so it's like half of that. But then the population density is way higher.
It's way higher.
So
way higher.
I mean, and also the infrastructure. That's one of the things too. Like
yeah,
I don't know, but I don't know about India, but I know places, most of developing countries in Africa is like the grid infrastructure is it's not as good as it should be.
We're going to touch on that too. Like interconnecting is. I think that's the biggest bottleneck. Essentially, we can build generating facilities, but you got to get it to where it needs to go, and that's the tough part.
Yeah, and I think coming to challenges that India is generally facing, interconnection is one big, not just the interconnection. I should say the transmission infrastructure, like you pointed out. So that is a big bottleneck. To be able to feed all of this, you need to upgrade your transmission capabilities, and it's similar to the US as well. Like, even though it's 1250 gigawatt, but at the same time, it's the same kind of problems, right? You're having data centers come online, and you need to be able to feed all of these data centers. And so it's the same kind of issues, very similar issues. And then a couple of the unique solutions that I think which might be unique to India is there's more natural gas here compared to India. So India is trying to ramp up that natural gas.
Domestic production or like importing?
I think it's importing, if I'm not wrong.
I mean, that's Russia's big energy export. So
yeah, so that's where the whole
it
is that whole geopolitical issue that
right.
I'm sure a lot of folks who are following geopolitics would know about it. But with the whole Russia sanctions, now India's trying to have to diversify their supply and stuff. Right. And so it is a big issue, and any kind of war does impact that, because anytime you have something like that, you're trying to feed a population of 1 billion people, and like cars and whatnot. You need the energy. You need it every time. So it is very critical for India to kind of get that energy mix right. And so, but the unique ones that was unique to India that I wanted to touch on was like biofuel, and they're trying to experiment with mixing ethanol and bio-based ethanol or retrieved ethanol, so in their vehicles. And so they're trying to make sure vehicles can take that mix, not just pure, like here if you're just purely gasoline, they're trying to mix it and blend it so that there's you're not consuming as much of the regular fuel from outside. So there's a lot of those kind of unique things that they're trying to do, and I'm not sure how much of that applies to the US, but yeah, it was cool to see that a lot of the challenges are very similar. And so And at the end of the day, there's policy that is the tailwinds for folks to actually put a solar and install solar. And so everybody, even agricultural farmers, are incentivized to kind of give some part of their land for solar and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to see. And yeah, it was good to kind of do the research on this, trying to see that developing countries kind of face the same kind of issues as the developed countries.
Right.
So
renewables kind of offers energy independence. I mean, policies plays a part in all of it, but we're at that stage with renewables now where countries can kind of exercise their own energy independence, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's very critical, right? Like, I think, imagine if your supply chain all of a sudden crumbles and you're not, and the very livelihoods like that everybody is relying on power to be able to do anything, whether it's your manufacturing, agriculture in India and stuff, hospitals, like everything could go to a standstill if you don't have your energy mix and you're not energy independent. And really, it's that is the most critical aspect. We need to have the energy independence and as well as tailor it to suit our needs, and that's true for every country, I think.
And just to add to your question there, right? Like Ethiopia right now, they just opened a new hydroelectric plant that is 5.15 gigawatts, right?
Wow.
And
that's real big.
Yeah,
it's
a 14-year project that Ethiopia has been working on, and it can, according to the research I did, it can power at least 32 million homes. Right. And
how many data centers though? Like 2.
Well, and the good part about that too is that it's fully funded by the Ethiopian government and the Ethiopian people. No foreign investments.
Wow.
So that's just
huge.
to go back to energy independence. You know what I mean? So most of these developing countries are trying to. And renewable is the way.
And it's a 2-part solution, which is what I'm looking at as well. One part is to get the supply right, which is that energy independence aspect, which is, okay, where can we what's our supply look like 10 years down the line,
Right.
20 years down the line? That could be, nuclear, a little bit of hydroelectric, solar, wind, all of these combined together to try to reduce your reliance on coal and natural gas. But the other aspect of that, which countries are looking at, and I've seen some the reports also suggest how they also want you to be efficient with your consumption. And what I mean by that is, like, what can you do to reduce your load? So one is to increase the supply, the other is to reduce your own load, and both of those together will kind of help you balance out the demand and supply issue.
That's a good point to brought. Sorry to cut you, but what I noticed in Kenya too, like even the sockets that we have, they have switches. Like, so if you're not using, turn it off. Compared to here, where you just plug it in.
Oh,
it's always
you just let it burn, baby.
So yeah,
when I came to when my first time in New York, I was like, dude, where are these guys getting power from? The whole thing is like on the entire time, like there's lights and
Wait,
but I realized later on, it's actually supposedly it's better to just have them on, because then it's a constant load that's on the grid. It's a base load, and so they're more than happy doing that. Just imagine shutting all of the base load of New York all of a sudden and turning it back on. So
you get to burn most of the equipment. Like I sent my little nephew a PS PlayStation, and then after 3 months it was done, because when you're switching it on and off every time, like it burned the
really
interesting because
it sounds like you should get a refund.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the process too, because you have these switches that you sometimes when you turn it on you pull more current.
Exactly.
So then you ruin the equipment. So it's better to leave it just like that.
Leave your PlayStation on. Yeah. But keep playing.
But yeah, on that efficiency piece, right? Like even in the US now, like I was looking up, I hate the heating and the HVAC system in homes. Like I feel like it's it's not efficient at all.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the stupidest
we got a
system
long
ever.
ways to go on those things.
But I was getting so frustrated just sitting there, like I'm supposed to wait for the hot air to just rise and go up. I'm like, nah, I don't think this is how it's supposed to be. And so there's things like that. You can make homes more efficient, and you can start to think about what pieces of equipment can be made more efficient. And so once you start like individually like looking at those pieces, then you start to get efficiency gains there, your supply is also increasing, so you start to get a little bit of headroom to work with, and so hopefully that'll come in the in the future. And
it's all there. We just got to implement it, which
yeah,
sounds difficult. But speaking of implementing, something we do at EBS is we engineer battery energy storage systems. And this is kind of part of what we're talking about with the load sharing. The blackout essentially is mitigating grid instabilities or providing grid stability. So maybe we just talk a little bit about that. I mean, you know, one thing that comes to mind is like, you know, ERCOT 2021. That's been a big change in Texas now, whereas like there's well publicized blackouts and energy pitfalls, and through battery energy storage, grid stability has actually become quite the norm there, and it's basically due to batteries. Any comments you guys want to make on high level battery, state of policy, market, etc.?
Yeah, when I think about this, I just think about like the fast frequency requirements, right? And how the battery can help in this situation where it's like when the frequency of the grid is either high or low, below 60 or above 60, then the batteries instantaneously can adjust that frequency when
so it kind of modulates
it modulates
things. Yeah.
it. So you see that is something that, you know, and then will help with the grid stability and reliability. So BESS, they're definitely crucial to our systems right now.
Right.
And I think the whole why BESS is starting to become important is, at the end of the day, renewables is variable. Like your supply is variable. Just with sun, you know, sometimes you have a cloud cover, and all of a sudden your generation starts to go down, and so the batteries supplement renewables and are capable of storing extra and providing when there isn't much. And so I think, like you were pointing out like earlier, there's what's really driving BESS is just the use cases.
Yeah.
One is frequency regulation, like Walden pointed out. The other is energy arbitrage or energy shifting, which is very popular as well. So those are sort of like the most common ones that we're seeing as well, right? Like that's what's driving at the end of the day what BESS installations and proliferation here in the US.
Right.
So,
And I think, we were talking about this earlier before we started recording, just kind of a couple, like 3 data points that I thought were interesting, where arbitrage nationally is the leading use cases for batteries, meaning basically buy low, sell high.
Yep.
And that, which is just, I mean, kind of smart business, right?
Yep.
But notably, you know, cases like Texas is grid stability primarily,
right.
To which, you know, became evident in that one winter with ERCOT. Those failures, of course, you like a perfect use case to like provide grid stability. And then California is kind of a mix. I mean, we think of California as probably the leading renewables state in the country, but arbitrage plays a role, but also grid stability is a key factor too. So kind of half and half there. Interesting data point. But so moving on, I mean, policy in the battery world, since this is kind of what we're talking about, still a good outlook relative to PV with the changes in policy. I mean, do we feel optimistic moving forward?
Yeah, I think even at EBS, we're seeing a lot of battery projects come our way. And I think the whole goal is try to squeeze out as much from existing PV as well. So a lot of these are being co-located with existing PV projects. And so, yeah, BESS is picking up right now, and all eyes are on BESS pretty much at this stage. So I think the most common operating timeframes, especially like you were saying, the leading use case is the arbitrage. So it's typically 4 hours.
And that's usually what we see.
Yeah, and so a lot of the BESS.
Can you explain what that means?
So 4 hours refers to the discharge and charge time. So it's basically when the batteries would like how long they would actually be used when the grid asks for a load, I guess, so, or a supply. So there's a discharge. So batteries are bidirectional, or are capable of, the system is, or I should say BESS is bidirectional. So you can actually charge the battery and discharge. And so that a charge and a discharge cycle is usually called a cycle. And so 4-hour operation is essentially 4 hours of charge, 4 hours of discharge. And so that's really what that is. So like you were pointing out with arbitrage, you would charge when it's cheap and then discharge when it's high, when it's when the costs are higher. So I guess it's cost higher for us, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
That's business. That's the free market.
Yeah.
All right, so kind of wrapping things up here. Going back to like where we started, you guys talking about your experiences growing up. I mean, so now what? You guys are in the industry. You have a direct impact on how energy is changing. I mean, do you have any thoughts, closing thoughts, remarks, advice, whatever, as far as how energy transition is changing? What people should be conscious of? What should they do moving forward? Like, what do you think?
First of all, I would like to say, electricity is like salt. When you don't have it, you miss it.
Yeah.
In the food, right?
My dad doesn't like salt. What does that mean?
Hey, I can't help everybody.
All right. Okay.
Most of us, I should say most of us, right? When you don't have that salt in your food, you know you missed it. And the same thing with electricity. And those blackouts or that missing salt for me as a kid. And now being in this industry, every day I come to work, I'm thinking about like I'm adding salt to people's life. I'm making their life better, like the hospitals. Like you have light at home, you have all these things. So that gives me some sense of purpose and some sense of like I'm serving the community and encourage like although the users could see it in that angle. Yeah.
You always have these poetic moments.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Prati, what is your poetic moment?
Yeah, I got to channel my inner poet.
Rumi.
No, I think on the conscious piece, I really like have a connect with that. Like for me, one is like I was saying earlier, like one is to be like, hey, we don't have supply and kind of worrying about that, but you got to be conscious about your consumption, and so if that means going solar and understanding what it means to go solar, then I would recommend like listeners to kind of think about that and kind of do their research, because there's a lot of technologies out there. And like, it could be rooftop solar. It could be, putting a battery energy storage in your garage. It could be, driving an electric vehicle. So start or maybe even upgrading your HVACs, having more efficient coolers. So that piece of the puzzle needs to come from your own consciousness of, okay, what can I do to reduce that load? And so that would be my recommendation to folks out there. Just think about what you could do. And then, on the policy side, things will, and the government will kind of take care of the rest. And so everything will start to balance out. So do your research on solar. It is a good technology. It's a readily available, widely available. And so get yourself educated on it. And if you can, and if you have the means, go for it. So
and get a battery.
Yeah. So do it in that order.
And charge it.
You got to charge it. Yeah, it doesn't do much if you don't charge it. So, alrighty then. I think that's going to do it for us today on the Sounds of Solar podcast. Please do all those things.
What should they do? Like, share, subscribe.
Yeah,
I think
that's
in
what
that
they
order.
say.
Yeah.
And leave a comment.
Leave a comment. We actually had a lot of comments on our last episode.
I was surprised.
Which is pretty cool.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Keep commenting. Share with your industry friends, of course, in PV, solar, BESS, all those things. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.